Hi guys, Jackie from Famished Farm. How are you guys doing this week? I am grilling kebabs again this week. I've just got 3 more kebab recipes to try out, and I want to tell you 2 out of the 3 were excellent. They'll go into the rotation. Now, what are we making this week? From Once Upon a Chef, Middle Eastern styled grilled chicken kebabs. And these were very good. I've made lots of her recipes and I haven't been failed yet. From Natasha's Kitchen, a recipe that you'll have everything you need right in your cupboards. Add a pork tenderloin and make a grilled pork shish kebab. And finally, probably my favorite recipe of the week was a steak kebab. This one was from cookingclassy.com, maybe the first time I've used any of their recipes, and it was excellent. It is definitely going in the rotation. So let's get cooking, guys. Hey guys, I forgot to tell you, there's timestamps in the description down below if you want to jump ahead to any recipe. These grilled chicken kebabs are fresh and lemony and just delicious. We're going to start, I'm just mixing up my Greek yogurt, and we're going to do a cup of Greek yogurt. And because I'm doing a half recipe, I'm actually just going to put a half a cup in there, and I'm guesstimating. And then a tablespoon of olive oil, 1 teaspoon of paprika, a 1/4 teaspoon of cumin, and just a pinch of ground cinnamon. She calls for a whole teaspoon of red pepper flakes. I've got cayenne pepper. I just did a shake of that. And then we're going to zest. I'm just going to do a half a lemon. You guys will do a full lemon if you're doing the full 2.5 to 3 pounds of meat. And then it calls for 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. I'm just going to squeeze half this lemon into the bowl, and then I reserve the lemon to go into my sun tea. Salt and pepper to your taste. The recipe calls for 5 cloves of garlic, which would be heavy for us. I'm just going to use about a half a teaspoon of dried and then mix it up. Now, I thawed chicken breast instead of chicken thighs. I pulled the wrong bag of meat out, so I'm just going to go with it. And I've also cut these chicken breasts so that they're on the thin side, and just chunk them up however you'd like to go on your skewers. I'm going to deviate from her recipe just a bit. She calls for going ahead and putting everything on the skewers right now, and then putting it into the fridge for at least 8 hours or overnight. I, however, don't really have the room to tie up my refrigerator that much with my grill basket, so I'm just going to put the bowl with the chicken in it into the fridge, and then I'll come back later and skewer them. Here I am deviating a bit too. I've still got a bag of Vidalia sweet onions in the fridge instead of, she calls for 1 large red onion. And I'm going to do probably a little less than 1 large. I reserved some of that for other uses. And here's my trusty Menards grill basket, which I will prepare using cooking spray. And I did not marinate for 8 hours. This was probably about 4 or 5 hours. Hubby's outside getting the grill ready to medium-high heat. And her recipe does call for metal skewers, which is just what I have, so that's what I'm going to use. Feel free to substitute if you have wooden bamboo skewers. It's just fine. And I'm just going to alternate the chicken and the onions. And she does make a note to not cram the chicken too tightly. She shows hers kind of threaded out more in a ribbon. Mine, for some reason, I usually cram mine. So that's my problem, not yours. But what that does mean is our chicken generally takes a bit longer on the grill. Her grill time says 13 to 15 minutes turning, of course. And we end up doing these for 22 minutes. Jen also has a note in the recipe that the yogurt-based marinade will be very sticky and it could cause things to stick to your grill grate. So make sure that you use a lot of oil on your grate before. And using my grill basket, I just don't have that problem. Now, guys, both Rod and I love this. It was just very fresh tasting. You can definitely taste the lemon zest and the lemon in the recipe. I like this because it is so simple. The only thing that I don't usually have is fresh lemon, which I will definitely make sure I have it. And I will try this with the chicken thighs next time. I think it will be even better, just a little more flavor. But this is going in the rotation. It was excellent. This steak kebab recipe was my favorite by just a hair over the chicken kebabs. And partly I think it was because we don't have steak as often as we have chicken. But we're going to start this with a 1/4 cup of olive oil. And then using the same measuring cup, we're going to do the soy sauce. And then we're going to use the second half of the lemon that we used the other day and just squeeze that. I used my little metal sieve just to catch the pits, the seeds. And then we're going to do red wine vinegar and then some Worcestershire sauce. It called for 2½ tablespoons of the Worcestershire. I just used what I had left in that bottle. And then a tablespoon of honey, 2 teaspoons of Dijon, and some garlic. And I'm not using minced garlic. I'm just going to use about a 1/2 teaspoon of my dry garlic and some black pepper. We're going to mix that up good. Now let's talk about the meat. She calls for 1 3/4 pounds of sirloin steak. Look for thicker cuts that you can get like inch and 1/4 size chunks out of. Guess what? I just couldn't find it. I found this loin that's thin sliced, and that's what I went with. So I'm just going to take those thin pieces and just cut those in half, and it works just great. So use whatever you've got at your disposal, guys. Don't be picky. Now, guys, you could do this right into a Ziploc bag. I just grabbed one of my stainless steel bowls, and I'm just going to cut those and marinate it right in the bowl. Now, it calls for marinating for 3 to 6 hours. Like I've been doing, I'm making this right after lunch, and it does get about a 4 or 5 hour marinade. We'll cover that with saran wrap and then pop that right into the fridge. The recipe called for more green pepper, and actually green, red, and yellow pepper. Called for 3 bell peppers. I just today don't have that, so here's about 3/4 of a green pepper that I'm just going to chunk up to use. And this is plenty for Rod and I. If I had more, I'd use it, but I just don't today. And then it does call for 8 ounces of button or cremini mushrooms. I think these are just white mushrooms, and I'm keeping these all whole because they're pretty small. This recipe also calls for a red onion, and again, I just am using what I've got in the fridge. This is a sweet Vidalia onion. It was delicious. Use whatever you'd like, guys. Now, the marinade for the vegetables calls for a tablespoon of olive oil, and she does say you'll want more for the grill grates too, which I don't use because I'm using my grill basket again. And then you'll salt and pepper. Now, I don't use the salt. I'm just going to pepper, and then I'm using a little bit of the garlic powder. It calls for a 1/2 teaspoon. I use something close to that. And then mix those up well. And then we're going to cover that with saran, pop that in the fridge, and then I go ahead and prepare my grill basket with cooking spray. Rod is going to be preparing the grill to medium-high heat. She mentions 425 degrees. And then I'm just going to skewer these on, alternating the meat with the vegetables. In the recipe, she mentions that when she does the onion slices, she keeps 2 slices together, which just keeps them from charring as much. We don't really have that problem, so I've never been too particular about what goes where. Just get those on your grill basket. I end up having lots of extra veggies, which we like, and we'll just put those on a skewer and pop that all in the grill basket.
Probably, I'd
Now,
check it
she
good at
mentions
15.
grilling this till the temperature is 140 to 145. We didn't bother with a meat probe or anything. We just cooked it for 15 minutes. Rod brought it in. He said, how does it look? And it was just done perfectly to medium, which is how we like things. You guys, if you like it more rare, then you're probably going to want to do closer to 10 minutes, maybe 8 to 10 minutes even. But just do it to your preferred degree of doneness. This was delicious, and I liked it because we had everything that you needed. It's very common ingredients, and seriously, I didn't miss the, different colors of the bell peppers. It is prettier, like if you were having company, it's pretty to have all those different color peppers, but just the flavor was delicious. Make this, guys. It's very good. Our final recipe is a pork kebab. And this one, again, you're going to have everything you need right in your cupboard. I'm using that sweet onion instead of the recipe calls for a red onion. Just use whatever you like. And I'm also going to do less than the recipe called for. I have lots of veggies left over from the beef kebab, so I'm doing a few less veggies than I might normally. The recipe calls for 2.5 pounds of pork tenderloin trimmed and cut into 1.5-inch pieces. Now, I will tell you that whatever size chunks that I had cut this into, the next time I'm going to cut it smaller. It was, and I'm not sure if it was my marinade time or what, the seasoning in the marinade didn't penetrate very far into the meat. And while this was good, it could have been a lot better. And we've had other pork tenderloin kebab recipes that were better than this one turned out to be. Now, you'll see I'm going to trim the fat where I deem it necessary. There's a fat pad on the other side of it that I'm going to trim off of each of these chunks. And then I do reserve that fat meat to go into my bone broth, which I make once a month, roughly. And this is another thing that I might change on this recipe. I have really fallen in love with the pork kebabs that have pineapple on them, and I would probably add pineapple or some other vegetable next time. Just jazz it up a little bit. So here's our Italian seasoning going in, and I'm using the full tablespoon. Salt and pepper to whatever taste your family prefers. Recipe calls for 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. Again, you may want to do more if you are a garlic lover or use real garlic. And then we'll add some olive oil. The recipe calls for fresh parsley, and I just don't bother walking out to the garden. I'm just going to use about a teaspoon of my dried parsley from last year's garden, and then we'll mix this up good. Now, here's another thing. She does say it's best to marinate for at least 4 hours, which is probably closer to what I did, but preferably overnight. So it could have been a little better if I had done the longer marinating time. And I will make a note of that definitely for the next time. That's going to go in the fridge, and then I'm going to prepare the grill basket with just some cooking spray. And hubby, meanwhile, is out getting the grill heated to medium to high heat. And then she also recommends metal skewers. Guys, they're just easier. They clean up nice, so that's why we use them. And she also does say for even browning, they should just be touching the meat and the onions. Don't crowd them together. And as you can see, I'm not very good with that. I kind of just pack things onto the skewers just to make sure everything fits. Now, she also cautions to let these sit at room temperature for 30 minutes before placing on the grill. And I know for a fact that we did not do that, and it's probably, I think they always say it's a good thing to bring your meat more to room temperature before grilling, and it's not something that I'm real good about doing. So try to add that to your repertoire and you'll probably have better success. And it'll be closer to the cooking times that she lists for sure. I did, I should say, my husband did these for 25 minutes, and we did this big size chunks, as you can see. And she said that it would be probably 8 to 10 minutes. Now, that was definitely not our experience with this. So you guys just watch them like a hawk, and you may want to use your meat thermometer. We did not do that. We just checked them when they came inside. They were done perfectly, and we ate these right off the grill. So these were good. And again, I like that you have everything you need right there. I wish I had seen the note to marinate these overnight, and I might have made them the night before and then let them have that extra time to marinate. Um, Again, I love pork kebabs. I would just do a little more zhuzhing on this recipe to make it to the same quality of the other recipes I've made this summer. But give it a try, guys. Let me know what you think. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed our cooking segments. I have really enjoyed them a lot, and it's for a couple reasons. It keeps me on budget. It makes sure that I'm cycling through the things in my pantry, in my freezer, on my canning shelves that maybe are not getting used in a timely fashion. Thanks for being in my kitchen today. Come back next week. We'll see what else we're cooking.